Hey guys, I'm driving across the hayfield hauling hay, getting these late summer chores done. But I wanted to take a few minutes and share some thoughts with you. And you may not like what I'm about to say, but please let me preface it with it comes from a place of love. And I have wrestled around with this video for over a week, and I decided it's time. I think most of the world witnessed the horrific assassination of Charlie Kirk over a week ago. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not a super political person. I'm just not, because the times that I have really tried to pay attention and things like that, read up on it, it just makes me mad, honestly. But something was awakened in me last Wednesday, September 10th. And I think it was a lot of people in this nation. First off, let me say, I don't think what's happening in our country is a matter of the left versus the right or the Republicans versus the Democrats. Last Wednesday felt very, very, very heavy. And there's been a spirit of heaviness, of oppression ever since. And I've seen many people say it. I've seen people say it that were in support of Charlie Kirk. I'm sorry, I do have to watch what I'm doing with this truck and trailer. And those who frankly didn't agree with anything the man said. But a lot of people can agree upon the fact that there was a major shift. There was a spirit that settled over a lot of people that felt heavy and it felt dark. And I've seen the posts about people saying, oh, these people, they're awake now and they're paying attention and they're so sad because their guy got murdered or assassinated, and where were they when the girl on the train got killed? Can we just stop for a minute and say, just because you feel affected by something doesn't take away from other events that are happening? Just because one thing bothers you really bad and is a life-changing event for a lot of people does not mean those other things are discredited. So let's let that go. That's just an arguing point. But the fact is, once the video circulated, let's be honest, it was horrific. Can we call it what it was? A horrific assassination that the world literally witnessed. It was, I guarantee you, that video was out there before his mom even knew he had been killed. And that shakes me. I am a mother of a young man, so that bothers me. But the reason I don't feel like this is left versus right, Republicans versus Democrats, this is good versus evil. And I don't know if you have felt that or what you believe, but if I have not spoken up on this YouTube channel enough to tell you that I believe in Jesus Christ and that he came to this earth and he died to save people from their sins and to give us, show us a better way and to show us how to have an abundant life, I'm sorry, because I do believe that. And I do believe there is spiritual warfare going on even now. And I feel like that is at play here. I feel like the fact that, take politics out of it, but I feel like the fact that a man that was boldly outspoken for the gospel was gunned down in front of thousands of people and the world watching and in front of his wife and children, that shakes me. And what also just affects me is the fact that Charlie Kirk was willing to die for what he believed. And am I willing to die for that? Am I willing to stand up and say, I believe this in my core enough that I'm willing to die for it? And are you? I'll ask you that question. What you're living for, whether that's Jesus or whether that's yourself, whether that's the world, the principles you stand by, the things that you proclaim that you believe are your core beliefs, are you willing to die for those? Or do you have plans at some point in your life to change things and to start living what you deem as right? Where do you stand on that? I think that one major thing that came out of Wednesday, September 10th, when that happened, is the fact that we're not promised tomorrow. I think that's one thing that has shaken a lot of people, is how instantly it can all be over and it can all change. And I'll just pose a couple questions to you that I've wrestled with myself over the last almost 2 weeks now. Are you living in a way that if it ended in a split second, that you're satisfied with that? Have you told people what you truly believe? If you truly believe it, have you shared that? And what I think is, we're afraid of hurting people's feelings. We're afraid of offending people. I mean, let's be honest, in this day and time, we have very different, even people in our own family, and we're afraid of hurting their feelings or offending them. But I would challenge you, do you truly believe what you proclaim? And if that's Jesus as Lord and Savior, do you truly believe that if you're afraid to tell people? If you're more afraid of hurting their feelings or offending them, and you would rather sit by quietly and let people go to hell, because that could be what is happening. And social media content creators, whether that's here on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, wherever that might be, we're so afraid this day and time of being canceled or unfollowed or people leaving nasty comments that we don't speak up. I've seen so many people say that have spoken up in the last week, and people commenting saying, I had no idea which side of everything that you stood on. I had no idea you were a follower of Jesus. We had people at the beginning of our YouTube journey multiple people tell us, don't talk about religion or politics. I can see how people are afraid to speak up on politics because, my goodness, it is so divisive. And if you say one thing that people don't agree with, it's crazy. But Jesus, if you're a follower of Jesus, that is a whole different thing. If people honestly have known you for years and they don't even know where you stand, we need to take a hard look at ourselves, because that is supposed to be our identity. I issue this as a challenge to other content creators. If your audience would be shocked if you're a follower of Jesus, it is time to tell them. And if you have to let some go and let some unfollow you, it is okay. That social media following should never have been an idol in the first place, and you may have to give that up. Maybe that is something that you have built up in your life, and God is asking you to give that over to Him and let Him do with it what He wants to. Because I promise, with His blessing, it can go further than anything you could fabricate on your own anyway. Let me leave you with this. If you are a child of God and He has truly changed your life, you have to share. The time for the middle ground, the time for the safe neutral zone is over, because it's an illusion. There is a line, and it's not popular preaching, but there is a line. You either are a child of God or you are not. And if you don't share that with other people, you are not telling them the truth, because there is a God who created them and loves them, and He knows every intimate detail about them, and He still loves them. And to tell them otherwise, to tell them you can continue, whatever you want to do is okay, that is a lie from the devil. And until we get some boldness and some backbone, and we stand up and we say, you know what, I love you enough that I'm going to share the truth with you, because there is an abundant life waiting on you. There is a loving God who is waiting on you. You don't have to clean yourself up. You don't have to change everything before you come to Him. You can come to Him right where you find yourself. The mess that you're in right now, you can turn to Him. It's not too late. You haven't gone too far. You were made on purpose and for a purpose, and you were made for such a time as this. And there is a lost and dying world that is hungry for this message. And we can't be quiet any longer. I do not personally want to die one day and stand before God and Him say, you were lukewarm, or I didn't know you. You had a form of religion, but you were not my child. That should shake us to our core. It is time to stand up and share God's love. Because the fact is, not everybody loved Jesus. If everybody loves you because you're preaching a watered down gospel or you're not sharing it at all, that is not the life-changing, Jesus' gospel that is the truth. You're preaching what people's ears want to hear, and it's time. It has to stop. Let me end with this also. If you are living a certain life that you know God has called you to something bigger and greater, maybe this is your homestead goals, maybe this is your job change that I'm talking about, I don't know, but you've put it off, it's time. I do believe personally, this is just me, that we are living in the last days. Look around, look up prophecy, look how much has been fulfilled already, and it's time to not waste another minute. If you've been called to take a leap, it's time to jump. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for listening. Sorry this is so raw, and it's just my heart. It's what I've been wrestling around with. Should I post this? Should I not? And I thought, what good does it have to think and process through all this if I feel called to share and keep it to myself? I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching, and God bless.